vehicle crashes are the #1 killer of American teenagers. Currently, there is no federal licensing standard for young drivers, a step which could lead to fewer fatalities on the road. Now, Allstate and the Safe Road for Teens Coalition are working to enact federal graduated driver licensing guidelines. And joining me this morning are Bill Venisi, Senior Vice President of Allstate Insurance Company, and Emily Reynolds, whose 16-year-old sister Caddy was killed by a teen driver who ran a red light. Thank you both so much for being with us.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nikki.
And Bill, let's first talk a little bit about the Stand Up Act and what it is.
Yes, it's really a lot like what you said in the introduction. It simply takes the best provisions of the state graduated driver's licensing laws and puts them into one set of standards. We find that if it has those provisions in it, such as cell phone restrictions and nighttime driving limitations, things like that, we can reduce some of the fatalities by as much as 40%.
Drawing some boundaries and giving some rules are certainly the first best step that we can take. And I want to talk a little bit about some of the latest statistics regarding teen driving accidents. Can you help us with that, Bill?
Yes, as you said before, 4,000 kids die every year. It's a national epidemic. We lose 11 per day. And if we can just get Congress to move on the Stand Up Act, we can cut that significantly.
Absolutely. And Emily, I want to talk to you for a moment because it breaks my heart. Your young sister was killed in an accident caused by another teen. Could you share your story with us?
Oh, absolutely. Yes, my 16-year-old sister was killed by a severely distracted driver who was also 16 in 2007. And basically it just made us all very aware about the fact that some of our teenage drivers are just unprepared to go out there and drive, and especially by distraction.
Absolutely. And as we talk about that, I want to ask you personally, what changes do you want to see in the driving laws?
Well, I definitely want there to be more education out there, especially as far as distracted driving goes, just so that when we get behind the wheel and we start driving on our own, we understand what we can do with our vehicle and that it is a deadly weapon that can end up hurting us or someone else out there.
Absolutely, and focus has to be your #1 priority when you're driving. As you said, look at it like a deadly weapon that you're in charge of. And New Mexico actually has already enacted very strict requirements for new drivers, such as learner's permits for drivers at age 15 only if they pass the written test. And New Mexico teens younger than 18 must actually clock 50 hours of supervised driving, including 10 hours of nighttime driving. And all of these, must be signed off on by a parent or guardian. So these kids must also complete None for the Road, which is a DWI awareness class. And I want to know if the Stand Up Act will affect some of the current New Mexico laws that we have in place.
Yes, it will, Nikki, a little bit.
Okay.
As you said, New Mexico has a good, strong law. They would have to tweak it a little bit under the Stand Up Act. That 15 would have to move up to 16. And then, of course, between 16 and a half and 18, that's the key period of time. Because that's when kids are really starting to learn. They're out there a little bit more on their own. And what the Stand Up Act would do is give those guidelines that says, not so many teens in the car with you, restrictions in terms of nighttime driving, that kind of thing.
And as Emily said, being a distracted driver is a huge issue these days. In fact, here at our station, we have enacted a very aggressive campaign about wait to text, which is basically don't text and drive. And I think that's one of the main things. Have you found that with technology being like it is, that has caused a huge distraction for drivers and caused a lot more problems than you've seen in the past?
It sure has, and if you couple that with having other kids in the car, conversations, any number of things like that, you already had some of those distractions. When you lay over the technology, it gets to be pretty tough, and that's why you get the statistics that you do: 4,000, 11 a day. It's just way too much.
Absolutely. Well, where can our viewers find more information so that they can show support for the Stand Up Act?
Thank you for asking. Yes, Allstate has set up a site called facebook.com/save11.
Okay.
If your viewers go and take a look at that, they'll see the real provisions of the law, along with ways that they can get in touch with their members of Congress, their 2 U.S. senators. We can get this thing done this year.
Great.
We've got some momentum. We get it done.
Let's get proactive and make that happen. We want more safety on the road. And thank you again, Emily, for sharing your story as well. We appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thanks to both of you, and we will have all the information we spoke about today right here as well on CASA.com. Thanks so much, and we'll be right back.